some herbal medicines for belly fat. So a lot of you have asked, what can I do to take for specifically that belly fat, which we know is always the hardest to burn off? Well, did you know that there are different parts of fat burning? There's part 1, which is called fat mobilization, and part 2, which is called fat oxidation. And both of those factors need to be working properly to actually mobilize and burn off that fat. And part 2 actually happens through your breath while you sleep. So you actually breathe it out as you're sleeping, and that's how fat actually leaves your body. Now, there are some things that help to trigger that oxidation and that mobilization. Caffeine is one of those things that is amazing, and increasing that oxidation of that fat helps to trigger your epinephrine and that release in the nerves of the fat cells. Fat oxidation only happens though when your insulin levels are low, and this is why I've talked about in other videos when I talk, of course, about leptin resistance and balancing insulin levels as well as your blood glucose levels. You want to go to bed on an empty stomach so that your insulin is low, because you can't oxidize that fat if your insulin levels are high. That's why fasting also before working out is a great way to maximize that fat burn, of course, when your blood glucose and your insulin levels are low. But let's now get to those herbal medicines for that belly fat specifically. And one of the first ones that I'll talk about, of course, is green tea. Now, green tea helps with that mobilization of that fat. Remember that part 1 of fat burning, and also helps with your epinephrine, and that was the part 2 with the fat oxidation. So that's really important. Green tea, love it, with a little bit of that caffeine, because the research shows that that combination of the caffeine plus the green tea helps to specifically target that belly fat. Okay, number 2. Panax ginseng. Now, Panax ginseng is known as an adaptogenic herb, helps in times of stress, helps with cortisol levels, which is very much related to belly fat, and helps to balance insulin levels. So this is another reason why it can really be helpful at keeping those blood glucose levels stable. And number 3 is maca. Now, I love maca, also an adaptogenic herb, so very similar to that Panax ginseng. Maca is great because in times of stress, again, our cortisol levels cannot have that proper rhythm, that ebb and flow, as this is important with our circadian rhythms. And that's why adding adaptogenic herbal medicines like the Panax, like the maca, are fantastic for specifically finding that balance with the hormones, the leptin levels, your insulin levels, and helping to target specifically that body fat. Now, for a great hack how to get rid of that belly fat, please check out my video, Melt Belly Fat, with this surprising hack. I'll see you there.